Hey, how's it going? I hope that beginning didn't get cut off. Usually I give the little timer a little more time to start. Anyway, please look at my signs. Okay, that's enough of that. So, today I'm gonna talk about something I just did, and uh, I don't know. I'm just gonna share it with you. I didn't take any notes on it or anything like that. God, I'm just hearing how congested I am. Sorry about that. I think I'm out of my allergy medication, so sorry. Sounds like my head's in the bucket. Okay. So right now, life is really like really right when I'm gonna get serious, I gotta find some kind of I don't even know what it. Oh gosh, here's more. It's reminding me. Did you ever see the Witches of Eastwick? It was like Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer and I think Angelica Houston and Shelley Duvall. And yeah, did I say Jack Nicholson? Anyway, it was this sort of weird, like upper class sort of story, and it was, I guess, supernatural, but kind of just normal too. So, I mean, it was up to the viewer, I think, to realize for themselves what it was. But at one part, uh, the three women who are like best friends get mad at Jack Nicholson because he's like getting it on with all three of them, and like it's like a behind everybody's back kind of thing. But then they realize, like, you know, they're not gonna get mad at each other. They're gonna get mad at him because I don't know. I guess because he kept it under wraps. I mean, they're all adults, but I'm getting right now that it was like he got them to lie to each other. I saw this when I was, oh my gosh, 11, 13, somewhere in there. And anyway, so then they're like, oh, we're mad at this guy now. So they put a curse on him, and one of them, or all of them, are eating cherries. And they eat like a shit ton of cherries. They have like this huge bowl, and they just gorge themselves on these things. And then Jack Nicholson is like at a different location trying to talk to somebody, and all of a sudden his words just turn into cherries coming out of his mouth, and he's just like, what the hell? And then, I don't remember the exact details. I'm trying to remember if that happened actually in front of someone or it was just him by himself, like having a phone call or something. But I know, holy crap, I got cotton mouth. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. The point is he was trying to talk and cherries were just coming out of nowhere and he didn't know what the hell was going on. That's kind of what it felt like when I was just trying to start to talk. Anyway, that was a good movie. If you can find it, you should check it out. Or at least I thought it was good. Maybe I should rewatch it before I start dispensing advice. Because, man, when I try to look at stuff that I missed when it was out new, like The West Wing, so much good things. I think Aaron Sorkin wrote it. Love Aaron Sorkin, or whatever part he played in it. Or not him, but his work I love. Anyway, we just nitpick every detail. Anyway, I tried to watch it. I think it was 14 years later, and 2 actual wars have happened in the meantime. So watching it was like, oh man, this is just inadequate. As like it just wasn't good anymore. I didn't get to see it, Anyway, getting all kinds of sidetracked. So, I was doing a reading a couple of weeks ago, maybe, and I was wearing bracelets. And one of my favorite ones is this, it's just volcanic stone, very common type bracelet. In fact, the guy I was talking to was all, oh, my grandmother wears one of those, and I was all, oh. Anyway, I just really liked it, and I'm doing the video, and I'm blah, 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 yakking away, and that brace, I started hearing noises of, like, something hitting the linoleum right under me, and then I look over, and I see it, like, just, like, sliding off my arm, and the bead just dropping, and they went on the floor and under the stove, and I can recover them, but I actually clean under there fairly regularly, more so than I think I ever have in my life, because I can move the stove, because I can move it. But still, under the stove is, like, yucky, like, no, there's no grease spills, and yet it's still, like, greasy under there. It's under the stove. It's gross, basically, is what I'm saying. So I'm not going to recover those and try to put the thing back together. And then also, a few also fell up somehow, because here's one. Here's another one. I mean, they're all over. So I actually kind of like that. Like, it's kind of comforting that they're, like, distributed around me. I don't know why, but I like rocks. But the image and the idea of them just slowly unraveling before my very eyes and then falling to pieces all over the place, I knew it meant something at the time, but I was like, wow, I'm just going to keep moving, because I was in the middle of recording and I was liking the way it was going, so I didn't want to stop. Sometimes something will happen, or you'll see something or hear something, and it'll stick with you, and you won't know why, but you will, maybe it's just me, but maybe you'll think that is significant. So right now the significance is becoming clear. I wanted to talk about deliberately jumping a timeline, because that's what I just did. Hold on. Well, sometimes you get a strain and it just dries you right up. Okay, so the significance, I think, of the falling apart and going all over the place of the beads is I feel like it's kind of like what's happening, like, in the United States right now, where everything that you like, that you are familiar with, that has always been that way, like, the things that you thought were permanent, that you could rely on, no, like, the whole face and character overnight has changed from, for example, Russia was our adversary. All of a sudden we're allies with them, and our policy is in alignment with theirs, and no, that's not really the case. That happened, that wasn't legislated. The president right now, Trump, he didn't like present to the people, hey, we're gonna do this now. He's just all, this is what we're doing, without using any of the procedures that we normally have that have kind of kept us together. That's one of the beads. That's, like, just right in front of our very eyes, just slowly, like in slow motion, fell apart, and you're just powerless to do anything, because proceedings were already underway, like in Congress. That's no excuse, though. They can't be leaving bits and pieces of the American state under the stove and just like it's too gross to deal with. This is something of a higher level of importance, the government, but the beads are symbolic. And then like the way that they're all, like in all these different locations, and I will be finding them, I'm sure, for months, because it would have had this many beads, right? So the things are just all over the place. Much like the country here right now. In so many ways. I mean, it's really, it's frustrating, because if you kind of were seeing it happen gradually, like the build up to this, all of the things that it took, all of the like programming, and oh, that's crazy. The groomers like have spent so many years grooming people to be right wing, and to, gosh, it's crazy. Like, think little of their own or other people's consequences by like going along with what these leaders are saying or wanting to run things. And I would say over half of my like 60 plus years, that's what the right wing has been trying to do. Like, everything all at once right now, though, like it, like the past that I was just talking about, like this little line of attack would get laid in and either would be activated and like something would be underway, or it was just like a sleeper activity waiting for like the right time to enact it, like the right public sentiment, I guess. Which we all realize that thing, that public sentiment, we didn't come up with on our own, but we all, Americans, a large portion of us, think that the other person doesn't know what's happening to them, or they don't know that they're being programmed, which is funny, because if someone says that to me, or if I know that someone thinks that's going on with me, I'm going to do everything in my power to go, in what way, how does that reflecting, because what does it do? I want to stop that. By all means, like, I don't want to be running around like a little, I don't even know what, mechanical toy on a track, like, I don't know, I feel like there's pitfalls in just like, staying in line, basically, not being a pain. And so, anyway, that about the beads. And then, what else? I don't know what this means, but I'm just going to bring it up now. For a while, I was seeing, you might know if you've watched for a while, that I was seeing pyramids. I still see those a lot, like different angles, they'll be at, point side down, and I'll see them from the bottom, and they'll, anyway, so I was seeing this for a while, and then, well, anyway, I would see it like looking in the clouds, and the clouds wouldn't be this shape, but it was just like a backdrop to see like whatever I'm seeing silhouetted against, in a way. That's probably not the right term, but I was able to see it against that. And it was like the right bottom corner of a frame, like a picture frame. I may have mentioned it once that I was seeing this, and I was seeing it for a while, and so I don't know, I haven't like been out looking at the sky. I haven't been seeing it anymore. So for a short time, that's what I was seeing, and I was like, what does that mean? I have no idea. What is that? I still don't know. I was hoping if I started talking about it, something would make sense about it, but I feel like it has to do with like this decision that I'm making to like make a change completely. Like, I feel like that's my timeline jump. I had been pursuing something in my life that I think it's run its course, you know. So and it was also like taking my attention from this kind of thing, and I realized kind of that it wasn't everything I wanted it to be. And I don't have time for it right now, what with everything falling apart and going to pieces all over the place. Like, I kind of have to be spending more time thinking about things having to do with that. Had this other preoccupation worked out the way I intended it to, it could, but I don't have time for that right now, so I just kind of had to shelve it and just start doing this other thing, because this is like more important. And so I pulled the cards earlier, and I pulled some High Arcana from this deck here, this one, Kawaii Cat Tarot. And the first one I pulled is a star. Very hopeful, and it's interesting. I noticed that on this particular version, usually the person pouring the water has one foot in the water, but they're not actually touching the water like in the other cards. I don't think they have feet. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But aw. I was gonna say the cat looks all hopeful though, and that is kind of like the message of the star. Like, you're just endlessly pouring regardless, and I don't know, like, water, when it moves, it's constantly changing. But what I hadn't noticed before was, look how happy the cute little sun is. It's all just kind of a hopeful message. And when you have the other version, I always think of having one foot in like the emotional sort of flow of things that you can't grab and control and are unusual, like even to the level of being supernatural. And then the other foot on dry land is like, this is solid, this is, you have that association with dry land. So in motion, things are going to be in motion, maybe end up displaced in pieces all over the place, but the sun always rises, and daylight is hopeful, especially in a period where you're sort of like feeling like it's dark night all of the time. So I also pulled from another deck the Sacred Souls messages as like clarifiers. So this is the one that goes with the star card. And I had written on Blue Sky a couple of days ago that ultimately we, the unelected and unappointed, are not each other's enemy. In fact, it's the ones up top above us, like leadership, government-wise. And, every election, people think that the other side, as we call it, is wrong about what they're thinking. Like, you're mistaken. You're not seeing your decision in you're not seeing your decision in the right way. Like, you're not voting for your best interest. And I I had that state of mind for a long time, but I thought, well, that's really like dismissive and like short. And I came to the conclusion we don't know what that is. What is their best interest? That would be the best interest for us, but we're not that person. We're not even in that same party. We don't have that same mindset. And I don't know why that is so hard for us to understand. Like, we can't just be all change and understand my way of thinking any more than they can just force it on us, which is, I know that's what I feel like as a person that is left-leaning. I feel like this existence right now is, like I talked about, I don't want to be allies with Russia. I don't believe in the way they do things. I don't believe, like, that country has always told a load of lies. I know this one has too. As I understand, our textbooks and history books are favorable to America. I assume theirs are to them too. There's a gray area, though, where gray area stuff happens, like lying and underhanded things and murders and espionage, and don't get me started. So there's a lot of stuff that is between, we'll say, the left and the right. We'll use the appropriately colored for the conversation hands there. But I went on to say that, yeah, that happens every time big whoop move on. The damage is coming from the top, though. It's not us. And now, this time around, you can't miss it. Like, the damage taking place right in front of us, like in slow motion. You can just see the pieces falling, breaking, and I just thought we should keep that in mind when we're getting mad and blaming people. Like, I think that for everyone involved, regardless of your leaning, the best thing to do is see what actually is happening as opposed to what was said in the campaign part. And that's not new either. Like, lots of stuff gets said that doesn't materialize once a person is actually elected. But that's a whole nother conversation that you can watch on a different channel, because I'm not going to do that. The point is, you can see probably more clearly than ever, because it's more brazen than ever, because they've been able, the right, to use all of that conditioning over a really long time to get people in the state of mind to accept what they're trying to enact upon all of us, which, however you believe or lean, it's gonna screw us all up. And that is the point where we should be meeting, in my opinion. So what this card actually says is, open your hands if you want to be held. Reach out, welcome love, let yourself receive. Well, love your fellow man, love, because that is going to pay off in a different way than like familial love or romantic love. I was all recreational love, but something else. I'm not talking about that right now. So the next card I pulled from the kitty deck was the devil. And, like on the other decks, there's a couple, usually a man and a woman. And, one of the meanings, aside from, like, death, is, death of an idea, emotional death, relationship death, romantic or recreational or professional, business or professional. Sorry. Hold on. The part about this card that I kind of fixated on, though, was addiction. The addiction part of it, because one thing about having to, like, actually extricate or extract yourself from one timeline because it's, like, over with, like, to keep doing it would be, like, moving into the area of addiction where it's not fun or novel and it begins to like chain itself to you, and your whole existence becomes having the money and then finding the stuff, and then finding stuff that's not fake, or finding stuff that's not going to kill you because it's got too much of something in it, or they cut it with some kind of poison. I know that's a really specific description, and it's not actually mine, but I've heard of it so many times. Like, it was never my life, but I know very well that sort of chase looking for your dope, because your body is gonna really mess with you if it can't have some right now. And that's when addiction is not fun anymore, and you're like, okay, I'll steal from my mother, you know, and it's like her wedding ring, or something stupid and horrible like that. That's what it does to you. And so there was an element of feeling that what I had been doing was gonna go that way. Like, don't go there. Don't continue down that road, or you will be living to regret it and telling stories about it. So don't want to go there, to be honest. Okay, so the corresponding card from the Sacred Soul Messages deck is this one here. And it says, maybe you search the branches for what is only in the roots. Go deeper, look elsewhere, you need more. Huh. Well, I definitely, it was already deep. And yet I still realized I needed more. I need to plant other roots, new roots, and I don't. The way that this is talking about the searching the branches, it's like, that sounds like a superficial sort of understanding of the issue at hand. Like, we're not talking about a tree necessarily, we're talking about a tree metaphor. So in this case, the tree, it represents the former timeline that, like, I wasn't there for the planting of the tree. I sort of, like, was the swing that was tied onto it for a while, But the child has left, the swing is unused, it's fallen off the tree, it's fallen apart. It's time to move on to, other things. And yeah, that old timeline was like exhausted. It was like fun and playful for a while, and then it got real, and it's like, okay, or it just became, not that it got real, but just that it became like sort of an exercise that required more work and energy than I'm willing to put into it anymore at this point. Like I was saying, there's kind of more important things to be putting my attention on right now. Planting a new tree of my very own in the new timeline. So the next card I pulled was the Lovers. And you could take this as like a Valentine's type message, like romantic love and all of that, but it also could mean a partnership. See, that kind of makes me think about this a little bit, because there was certainly an element of that in the other timeline. Like, even though it's kind of like a treading water situation, and no shore or boats in sight, which is why the jump needed to happen to the next timeline. There is a level of attachment that is similar to that. A familiarity and a utility, I suppose, to the relationship, but that has always been sort of my problem with it, is a style approach type thing. But this suggests that it would be a partnership that's going to work out. So maybe that's what is in store on the new timeline. In fact, no maybe about it. Something else that I had said today, I got a reading for myself earlier, and it was like online, so it was coming in parts, like they would write some of it and then send a piece, and I knew it wasn't over yet, but I was all like, there's a chihuahua inside this cat person, like, I get excited. So I had answered, like I went to say something, and then I stopped myself because another portion came up, but I just continued writing it because I was like, oh, okay, this is not going badly. But I thought, right now, in this time where things seem to be crumbling and chaotic and familiar things are becoming unfamiliar or gone. And so what better time, like, instead of being like, oh my god, like, this is going, or that other thing is going, I'm thinking like job or home or like availability to like the food that you're used to having, whatever kind of like panic situation where everyone's about ready, if they haven't already run out and like cleaned out the supermarket shelves of stuff, which, if you remember the time of COVID, that happened for a long time. There's a little bit of that happening right now, but I don't know, I guess I get to the store early enough, it's not completely picked over yet. But there is like some stuff that just isn't there too, which is kind of a bummer. Like your favorite bracelet breaking, but you live because you can get another bracelet eventually. Like, I'm not heartbroken about eggs. I probably should eat more of them, but I mean, I can buy 18 and have them for quite a while. So it's not gonna hurt me as much to spend a lot for a carton of eggs. That's a sidetrack. I don't even know what I was talking about there. But adjusting to new times. So maybe the Lovers is me making a partnership with a new timeline, or I'm like open to the idea, because I don't think like you do stuff all on your own. I've talked about that before. You kind of can't do stuff all by yourself. So this was the card I pulled to sort of clarify, I guess. I don't think it's gonna, that may not be the right word, but it's the corresponding card for the Lovers, and it says, the moon is bright when it doesn't avoid the night. Hang in there. Be patient. You are on the right track. That always kind of mystifies me. The moon is bright when it doesn't avoid the night. I mean, the obvious interpretation is, the moon's always there, but it goes through phases where sometimes you can't see it. Like, it's not white and round and bright or whatever. But it's still there. You can feel it if you're sort of attuned to that kind of thing. Yeah, it just mystifies me. I think it's a language barrier thing. But anyway, when you can't see it, it's already like not the best clarity when like it could be a full moon, but at night it's you like if it was daytime you'd still have shadows from the light coming from the same direction. It is actually sunlight still. It's just reflected sunlight off the moon. But because the sun is not out there, it's a lot bigger than the moon. Puts out a whole lot more light than just reflected light, and you just have better clarity. So I guess it's saying that you can see better when it's actually out and have better clarity. But I don't know what the heck that has to do with the lovers or a partnership. But hang in there, you're on the right track. For going forward in a new timeline, that kind of makes sense. Or I guess, maybe it's talking about the sort of unknown future, and it's not just me deciding to like make a left turn or whatever. It's kind of everyone in this period where what's ahead is kind of unclear because everything that you could count, that you could rely on being the way it was. So if you had a problem or an issue, you had a way to go resolve it. And in many cases, you do not have that anymore. So we all have to make adjustments, and it's hard to know what the heck is coming. Maybe because the confusion is coming from a place of darkness. And it's funny because this is bright moonlight darkness. They kind of broadcast what they're going to do, but there is also a lot of stuff that you're unaware of that is being kept from you like a lover's secret. Like you're going to take it to the dirt. You're not going to tell people. And man, that is not a relationship I really want to be in. Unfortunately, you have to deal with people like that, like here and now, in this actual true reality time. Okay, so here is the last one of the kitty cards. And it's Justice. They're so cute. But, cats are, and don't piss them off. Don't make them mad enough to attack you. You will regret it. Like, if they're serious. I know big, huge adult people, like over 6-foot men, afraid of cats. Bears, actually. Don't get me started. So, yeah, Justice. Well, if the Justice can bring us out of the darkness that we're unsure about and can't see, then yes, let's do the sunlight. Let's be the light. Let's shine the light. Let's have the lanterns in the darkness so there can't be illicit sneaking around, making deals. Ooh, making deals. These people like to make the deals, or one of them does. But how's that been turning out for you? But, I have to say, let's be clear about what's happening. It's not just that this guy is a bad deal maker. The deals that he's making, I don't know if you know this, but they're like kind of, cutting down off at the knees, like making the whole structure fall in on itself. That's deliberate. Here's the next card that goes with that. I'm going to come back to this. So, compass, hi. America, United States has lost its way. It needs to find its way back, because what is happening, regardless of what you voted for or what you believe, is really screwing up most of us. Cherries, regardless of what you voted. It's like skin. My skin. I don't know. I can't even think. What did I eat? It was so a while ago when I ate last. Oh, rice. Okay. Nice. Finding rice. Great. Don't get sidetracked again. Get back on course. I think we've lost it here. Well, not all of us. We're not all responsible for. We may have, some of us, voted for this, but it's like I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and it was like they were going, well, MAGA, FAFO. You know, this show was kind of gloating about, like, how the MAGA are now sort of realizing, like, with the stock market, if they put money in that, or if they're farmers, who he has repeatedly messed up real bad, Trump. So I don't know why they would vote for him again, but, you know, people make their decisions, but they don't need my consent, you know? Although sometimes I wish they would take it, because foresight is, I mean, if you're a farmer, you gotta have that. I mean, think about it. It's just sort of the nature of growing stuff. But, I mean, you didn't learn anything the first time, and you don't see how he's just gotten worse and angrier and more vindictive. And I have said, I think his new policy is fuck all of y'all. Like, whoever I decide to think you all suck, you didn't love me enough the first time you impeached me, you let it happen. Like, every grievance, doesn't it sound like that? And boy, he holds the grudges so tight. He does not let go of those. Someone who never apologizes when they're clearly wrong, and you know they know it too. They just are like, but I don't say that. That is, I don't understand why you would lock yourself into something where you just end up looking dumb. You don't look good for holding on to your convictions and standing your ground when you're clearly wrong. You just look like a dodo. So, this card reads, let yourself be drawn by the pull of what you truly love. Divine purpose, mission in life, being guided. Okay, so this goes to why I would jump the timeline from what I was doing to, like sort of drop everything, drop the recreational love or whatever, and get serious about this other stuff, because I can't just, you know, it goes back to that thing where you may have asked yourself, what would I have done in the civil rights era? Anybody of any shade, complexion, mindset, political leaning, etc., can have whatever thought they can have. Not everyone's going to have the thought that I would have, like, I want to rescue the people that look like me, who I don't have, like, that great of an association with. But the onlooker, that's what they're going to see when they look at me as a black lady. So I'm going to get swept up into that. If it's the civil rights era, they were not asking questions. It's just like what they're doing right now to migrants. You know, calling everybody a criminal. That, like, infants, like, well, what the hell did they do? You know, it's bullshit. That's not, like, the course that I want to take. I think it's terrible. I don't believe in it. And it was bad in the first term. He's got so much power behind him to do really stupid stuff in the name of profit. And, you know, people's stories, they don't want to hear it. They are no longer in a place where they can hear it, care to hear it. It's kind of like the people that are unelected and unappointed have become like chipper fodder. And so That's why I jumped the timeline, because I would like to be part of enacting justice and fixing that, because that ain't right. I said, well, I don't know, over the summer, I think a couple of times that, oh, I might have just written it, so let me just say it here. Gross wealth, like, is out there now, like all of the, can't even call them men, now they're just corporations, they're not even people to me anymore, they're just Walmart and Apple and Amazon, but so yeah, all of those advertisements were standing behind Trump on the dais when he was getting sworn in to be president, and what they're doing on their platforms, etc., and their properties like the Washington Post is just gross, and it was bad enough when it was like, we're just so rich and we have influence. Now it's like they're just the people driving the dang car, and I don't want to go there. I want to go on the straight and narrow and the honest and the fair and the authentic. There's a lot of lying, so much lying right now, and we just have to make it our business to be able to see where it's happening, and especially where it's harmful the most, and then get in the way of that, disrupt that, stop it, whatever it is possible to do, because this is a serious thing, like, and it's happening so fast. It's happening fast for a reason, so that they can, like, just yank the rug out from under you before you have a chance to respond. It's an ambush, but it's not. It's been underway for many, many, many years, and it's gone by a lot of names in this country, but it's driven by an ideology that's very similar to the adversary in 1945 that most of the world fought against. Those same forces are aligning with other similar forces, and they're causing the problems because they want all the marbles, and you and I, the unelected and the appointed, are, it feels like in their minds, expendable, there for the taking and using, even to the point of, like, lying about who you are and what you do and what you stand for, and using the lie as a reason to get rid of you out of your position at work that you trained for, you put in time training for, like, you've earned your way to that position, and then here comes someone that knows nothing about any of that stuff that your position required, but they're just going to get rid of you because really they just come off like a bunch of jerks, and they're really screwing things up. And here's what I don't get, though, about that. Does the lack of a compass also make you blind to foresight? All of this sort of vengeful behavior and anger, I've talked about this, they have this weird, unreasonable anger against the people that are not like them, that are not rich or elected or appointed, and they're like, therefore we're just supposed to be the servants or something and just be all, okay, that's it now, that's our life. No, you got the wrong people for that. Wrong people, wrong time. Like, at some point, everybody's gonna realize, oh shoot, we're off course, and want to snap right to. And that is the point when this will start happening. But I really think that this can start happening all the sooner when we realize that ultimately we, the unelected and the unappointed and not wealthy, are like the patsy for all of their mistakes. real mistakes or, so-called mistakes. I started to say something and I don't think I did. About... Shoot, now I forgot. Dang it, I was going to say it, but I didn't want to sidetrack myself. Something about the justice. Well, the justice has to happen. Oh, wait. So the agreeing or the not agreeing. Right, okay, so, yeah, ultimately, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what I had said a couple of times, and then Sam Cedar said it. I don't think he saw it. He said it too, though, and then John Flannery said it, and I'm seeing more. Now I think I heard Mike Popak say it, and it is that gross wealth should be illegal because it is breaking stuff. Like, it's beyond, like, losing your way with humanity. Your humanity and other people's, that you have decided that it is your right to scoop up and start telling what to do. And it's like, no. You're going to run into problems with that. I can tell you that right now. But the important thing for us to remember is that if you can get rich enough to enact so much harm on everybody else, you cannot be allowed to do that. This cannot stand. You may not pass. No. So that is the new timeline for me. I don't have time anymore for stuff that isn't this. Like, if I'm not thinking about this or doing something related to this, then I'm blowing it. And so I've answered the question for myself. What would I do? This wasn't a way to do anything in the civil rights era in the 1960s, but I do have internet now. I do have a reach and an ability to say things to a whole bunch of strangers should they care to take a look. And that's it. I think that's all I have to say today. Thank you and good night.